Call today is public safety meeting on Tuesday, March 17th to
Randy,
here.
Candace, Tammy, Kevin, Cameron.
Here. Okay. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right.
Nothing. We don't have anything. Nothing today.
This is an opportunity for anyone to address the committee on any issue. Please observe the time, 3 minutes, while the committee encourages input from residents. It may not discuss or act on any issue that's happening raised.
I have nobody. Nobody sent me anything. I have Holly's the only person online, so I have no one.
Today, approval of the minutes from January 20th, 2026. I move to approve. Second. All right, motion the second. Any discussion?
Who's second? Oh, Tammy. Okay.
All opposed, the same. All right. Reports of the public safety committee officers. Don't think we want to.
Okay. Nothing. Members. Okay. We have no special guest. Matt's here, but he's here to answer any questions regarding the topic on the agenda.
First responder.
Holly is, yep.
Were you asking me a question?
No, you were starting with you. We're at report of first responders.
Oh, Rescue 33, the new rig already had its first accident. Somebody that was driving emergent hit one of the St. Mary's concrete pilers. So that'll be fixed. Glad we have a second ambulance so that we don't have to be out of service. Calls have been somewhat slow, and we're having a problem with one of the facilities in town. But Chief Tony, I was going to meet with you to discuss that because I believe you have the same problems.
Yep, I've reported it to the state.
Yes, and I got contacted by the state yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk offline.
Okay.
Justin.
Sure.
He said he didn't have much to report. So the only thing I have the annual report, so we'll get into that here in the agenda. But the only thing I have to report is that we're working through our hiring process. It's going well. Hopefully we can have someone hired soon.
Dense agenda today. This is good.
I just put it down as an update, maybe from Kevin about the Trout Days kickoff meeting.
You know, a couple of committee meetings now. Fires always are fresh off. It's everybody, so you guys first review extension after using them for two of the same. Johnson. I can tell you that you have a lot of money raised by business and health in particular. And a very large contribution as well. So the department. We're going all that up because local safety perspective for the application that various departments for approval and side conversations, the Mill Creek Parkway closure and wall closure being the biggest piece, and logistics around that. Second piece would be designated parking areas within the village being communicated on later this year. So we need to talk to business proposals based on wilderness other years should be we must add so those there's other stuff we'll be looking possibly at transportation services and or that's so there's a lot of sponsored event as well, so we're again, it's back in public safety though. Basic things. I will be speaking in the last to be shut down as well, so that can be designated. Here, so we kind of launch and parking spots for vans that we'll be needing as they bring a lot of equipment and vehicles each van. So we'll talk through, but I guess I'll open up for questions
I got nothing at this point. I mostly want to make sure that the issues from last year were addressed, and it sounds like they are, so.
Yeah, yes, the commitment that they are, but we don't have any plans and engagement with the village yet.
Okay, it looks like Carla being at the meetings gives me,
Yes, a large amount of confidence that it won't be overlooked this time, so.
Very optimistic as well.
We should make sure that they understand that it falls under their responsibility. I'm assuming you will during that meeting when it gets addressed. So it'll be this meeting. March 23rd.
it would be good for you that they not to just come at the beginning and just make a public comments. I'm sure they would let you speak to the topic that they. So it's up to you, however you want to do it. I'd reach out to Carl and say, I'd like to speak on this topic. You just follow comment and say, hey, suggested vote there.
All right, yeah.
I'll reach out to you tomorrow to schedule that meeting.
Yeah, I read it with a few of us. Just through the budget possible and do the rejection.
Yeah. Also, so Brian from EMS is asked to join on that meeting, so I'll make sure to include him. All right.
Topic here is discussion of possible action regarding accessory and tailored class.
So you all should have received what Candace provided. Thoughts?
The top, rationale.
Mm-hmm.
Special warning signs, but then it does continue to say, but for children, people can see traffic and stuff.
I think really the question comes back to that original question. It's like, okay, once you're erecting the sign is one thing, and then, but what do you do for follow-up? So who's going to maintain that? So is the sign coming down if they move? And then how do we, is it their onus to let us know? Or how do we follow up? And then once you put one up next week, when someone asks for another one, is there going to be a limit? There's just a lot of questions.
I can't remember what's the one. I put together with that's just what two cities have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Here's their sign application.
Right, and then
Here's the second.
I have something. It was I think like a part of that. Like it was right here. Because I think one of them was also or what like I found it'd be something like what has to because I think I remember reading like it's like a yearly, right? It's a yearly ask, but you have to. Oh, you have to.
It was a signed affidavit.
Yes.
Confirming you intend to live at that address for another.
And then of course, like who pays for it, but that again, that's another. What the village that's another.
And then what are the, signage is it's just informational. There's nothing having to do with ordinance or law. This would be what's proposed here based on your draft would be a policy adopted by the village.
Right.
I mean, the attorney may want to put it in ordinance, but that would be for them to decide. I think the biggest question is, are we doing it or not? You know, it's not just about erecting it, but all the things that follow.
So historically, is this being driven by requests? that you received?
One request.
In how many years? The first.
I've never received one. This is the first time in 6 years for me. I've never had anybody. I mean, we get the erecting stop signs and, you know, put flags. We've done that. Put flags on stop signs. No parking, but never anything like this. And you do see these across the state. I mean, there's certain communities that have, obviously there's already protocols for it. Yeah, the family, every now and again, he walks away and he's over on in that neighborhood in Westview Court, which is a lot of cars come and go from that area. We haven't had a single complaint like that, you know, but it doesn't mean it's, you know, it's not going to happen. And this is an advisory sign, so it doesn't have any ordinance or violation, or it's whether you want to get into the business of erecting signs. And again, you're a recommending body, so it doesn't mean the village board is going to support this at all. Because I could see from the perspective of safety, it makes sense, right? Anything to provide safety, but I read the data too. The data doesn't support that. You know, after you drive past a sign, how many times do you actually notice it? You don't. So I mean, we have stop signs that blink on Bourbon Road, and we've had people go through them at 30 miles an hour, and they're blinking. So, you know, it's. Do you want to try it? You know, I could see some pushback from Public Works if they have to take them down, bring, you know, put them back up, you know, that kind of thing. After a while, it's not a bad idea. It's just how far do you want to go?
I don't mind. Trying to look at it like.
Right. I mean, you don't have to do it. You don't have to create a policy. You could just simply say, you know, we've been approached to put up a child sensory sign over on Westview Court. There's some, we don't need to say one child, two child. I don't know how many children live up there that might have that. There are a lot of children up there for sure. We'd like to erect a sign. It's been requested. Like to, I mean, it doesn't have to come with the whole policy. Now, I do think that if the village board is like, well, no, we'd like the policy, then it might get pushed back this way. And there's a good start on it already. Policy, they may say policy/ordinance, ordinance/policy, something. But you could just start by making a recommendation that the sign be erected. I think if we get a second sign, then the board should probably look at that. If it's a one and done, it's probably okay.
I think based on that, it's one sign, and if it saves somebody's life. I mean,
When you're kind of, but the reality is you are testing it.
Yeah.
Because you're putting it up.
I like the idea of approaching as a test, where one's fine. If this turns into something, then we get the policy.
Right. Right. You're just gonna have to explain that at the board level to why, you know, if they ask, my guess is they will ask. Something that hasn't come up before.
So I offer the motion, recommend to the board, we put it one sign. We're not gonna do ordinances in this point, put up a sign. And we'll just keep it open like we do other things. And so
I mean,
that creates issues.
we have signed ordinances already.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, so I honestly, I think if we ended up with like a signed ordinance like this, I would recommend we bring on Michael on board because he knows a lot about science and he would be able to figure out what works best. That would be my recommendation. And you can ask him as part of this committee to be, you know, we share everything with him and see if he can come up with something that falls within the sign ordinance. That makes the most sense to me. And then, but for now, you can just say we recommend that this sign be put up. And if the board pushes back, then we approach Michael and say, okay, so we need some help with this.
So there we go. Okay, motion and a second. And just to recap, the motion is to the one sign for the requesters.
Right.
At this moment.
Right.
And we deal with. The rest of it. Right. The discussion is probably good to discuss what the sign just should say. That's what they're feeling. Well, I think even something as simple as if you scroll up to page. You know, I think if we just even provide.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, no, I'll provide a picture as part of the memo.
Must it sensory impaired, right?
Yeah, sensory impaired. And I don't know if they had, I don't think.
I've seen.
They, if you want to email me one, if not, I can look for it too. They wanted that was exactly the language,
Yeah.
sensory impaired child sign. Sensory impaired.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, that won't be a problem.
I won't be at this month's board meeting.
It won't go this month because the agenda was already made. It'll be at the next meeting.
Right.
So this will be a April meeting.
I'll close the penny. So moved. But yes, I can take care of in April. Talking through, you know.
They may not have any questions. They may say, yeah, no problem.
Let's see.
Well, it's a sign, so
Let's see.
it's probably an hour conversation about that. All right, the next is yep,
Couple things that were in there was, the first thing was the current bike ordinance that President Ed shared with me, which basically says not a lot. Pretty outdated, and so that might be the place to start. One of the first things that it does say was registration, and I believe that hasn't been done in a long time. However, it'd be a great way for the owners of the bike to know, especially with e-bikes, what class what e-bike is and that's what. There's various state statutes that were in there as far as bicycles on the street and versus sidewalks, etc. E-bikes. That's a little, everything that I think Matt shared with me, I think I got it in there, right? Okay.
Everything you described is in here.
looks like you guys prepared or shared Oregon's ordinance pertaining to bikes, which obviously it must have risen to the top in your discussions. So is there any reason we can't just adopt something from that or add to the language of ours?
Remember it was. There was a handful of words. What we need is everyone to be on the longer off the sidewalk, because that will buy the students to the neighborhood. So we need something that says people should be allowed on the sidewalk now. That's the whole part. That's separate.
Big complaints that I have received is bicycles going into the conservatory, driving on the trails, driving extremely fast on the roadways, not abiding by, motor vehicle laws. I like the registration piece, but it's how are we going to require that? If it's by ordinance, then is that right now the way it sits is all bikes must be registered. I don't want our officers tracking down 9-year-olds and checking to see if their bikes are registered. That's weird. That program, I think the spirit of that, the spirit of that law was for thefts, for registration of bikes in case it got stolen. Now, most people buy the Walmart brand bikes that it's like if it's gone, you just get a new one. That's what we did, right? It's probably most of you. Now we have had some expensive bikes that probably could have garnered some attention had they registered it and had the serial number, because bikes that are like $4, $5, $6, $7, $10,000, that it would be nice to be able to have a registration program so we can get them entered into the system and that kind of thing. So this is the time to create that registration. But I think the language should be voluntary registration unless you're a motorized bike, something like that.
That from like to physical and e-bikes.
What portion of the law says that? I would assume they're different just because one's pedal and one's motorized. So, I mean, I don't think that out of this meeting, we're going to come up with all of these things. I think that Matt and Tammy are doing a good job just kind of putting everything together, but I think we should give them some direction as to what we're looking for. So that way at the next meeting, we can have additional language for our current ordinance or create a totally different section of the ordinance. I did talk to our village attorney and he's willing to look at anything, but I think he needs something more than just suggestions, more like this is what we want. And then he could say legally you're good or you can't do this or that. But I think that's what today we should probably decide what direction, what are we looking for? So that way I'd like to make a recommendation by the next meeting. And I know that also one of our board members, Bill, had expressed interest in being involved. He's heard complaints and the other side. Sarah has also expressed not willingness to help, but that this will be a hot topic. And, so, and I do think that, I think much like the ATVs, I think we're going to see a lot of scooters. They become affordable and the bikes have become affordable. And I'm sure a lot of people got them for Christmas and we're going to see them zooming around as soon as spring comes. So it'd be nice to have a recommendation for the board by our next meeting. So that way by May, they can make it where it's either part of the ordinance or. So I guess my first point of interest would be looking at registration, whether we can or cannot enforce that separately and what law that talks about. It would be ideal if we could. I don't, unless the state law says this municipalities cannot treat them separately, I think you can always become more restrictive. You can't become less restrictive than state law. So you can have ordinances that so you can't spit on the street, you know, so I don't know, you'd have to look at that because ordinances are different than the state laws. That would be my biggest one because registration is, the good thing about registration is that that's a reason to stop somebody and check to see if they have the other requirements that they need, because they have to be registered. We would have to somehow have a registration program. Like we found some old registration stickers that we used to have. But also then say, hey, voluntarily, if you want to register anything else other than e-bikes, you know, we'd take them all, right? If somebody wants to bring them in. And then we can establish some kind of process, some kind of, you know, logging process for them. That would be my number one. Number two, I would definitely, the ordinance should cover something about not being in the conservatory. I think that it's dangerous. If anybody who's walked, you know, on the trail, it's tight as it is. Now, if you're going through there at 30 miles an hour, you're going to hit somebody. Right. Right. Yeah, bicycles can go up there. I mean, they do it now. Right. So identifying whether we need to, by reading ordinance, whether we need to just add signage that's already covered. I didn't find any spot that specifically spoke about e-bikes. Right. So that's why we need to update it, because I don't think it's a bad idea that we already have a bike ordinance. It just needs to be spruced up. And so looking at other ordinances and where does it make sense? The goal is, what are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to make it safe, and we're trying to keep certain areas from being polluted with those bikes. Safety, again, the other thing is making sure, you know, do we want them on the sidewalk? I mean, I don't know if I'll motorized anything. Me personally, I wouldn't want them on. Right.
We just have to know, what do we want to ban everything from the sidewalks or allow everything on the sidewalks? That's legal, basically.
Well, there's certain e-bikes that can't go on sidewalks already of state law.
Well, there will be, which you won't know with us.
Right.
And the thing is, which you know, 50 miles an hour, they go faster than illegal bicycles with more than 750 engine. You can't probably looking at them, unless you like, you don't really see that. There's already no by looking at it. It's not being able to look at it and say, hey, this is technically, you know, for motorcycle, it's not actually a bicycle.
I think the registration piece, I mean, if in fact it's true that we can't have separate rules for e-bikes and regular bikes, then then we have to abandon the registration. Like that's, like we can't require everybody who has normal bikes to come required to, it's already in statute. We just don't enforce it. The spirit of that was for somebody wanting to register the bike just in case it got stolen. That's what it was meant for, not for us to check to see if the registration is up to date. That's
Sure. And so I guess I'm kind of with you coming. You'd be curious what we put in right by state law section of e-bikes and then apply things to them, or if we even need to be more general, we could say something, you know, if you have e-bike using the motor, you know, you're just doing pedaling, like, you know, so we could say, you know, any
even bikes. I mean, I don't see bikes unless you're children riding on sidewalks. I mean, most People are right on the road, right?
So. But yeah. we can keep going to that. One thing with the conservancy that I thought about through the packet this weekend. Because people
Might like they want to enjoy the conservancy land and so they enjoy an e-bike. So I don't know if we should say that they're totally not allowed, but I did see something in here about speed limits. So if you have an e-bike in the conservancy and you're just going below a certain speed, maybe it's okay, but that's also hard to enforce. So I don't know. A lot of questions.
Sidewalk they go, the only picture of walk, right away on the sidewalk is that little, so that's the only thing.
When it's a safety issue.
Yeah, everything from the sidewalk.
I would be, me personally, I don't, regular pedal bikes, if they're on the sidewalk, I think that's fine. I think it's the e-bikes that we're looking, keeping them out of the conservatory and keeping them off the sidewalk. And how do we do that? And is it legal to do that? I honestly don't think that's an issue, because I don't see any e-bikes on, I've never seen an e-bike on a sidewalk in Madison, and there's e-bikes everywhere.
And you're putting together e-bikes and we.
Yeah, I mean, some of those e-scooters go at 25 miles an hour. And they,
But my daughter
they-
in Illinois.
they,
and
they,
looked on her window one day and.
yeah, they fly. It's, I mean, one rock and you're gonna go flying. Like it, but people have started to get hit, like cars, because there's more bikes. I mean, the more you have, the more you know.
The legal e-bikes are not. What you concerned about because they can go up to 20 miles an hour, like on the water system, which is still pretty fast. But the bigger that is that like under police are saying like the back of the people who are bikes are.
Or
E-bikes.
is there age restrictions on those bikes?
Yes, but nothing. Restrictions based on age.
Yeah, there's 3 classes, right? A, B, and C. But like A is what the slowest, right? And that has, but is there age requirements of them being operated? Or can just anybody?
The ones that go about 20 miles an hour. Not 20 miles to anybody.
Which is crazy, man. Like some 10-year-old driving those cars.
Good, you can say this is class 3.
The easiest way to.
I mean, there's already ordinances out there, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think you read the Oregon one and see where you can. I mean, obviously that's the one you guys picked, but there's other ones. Madison has one. Be prepared for the Madison one because I do believe you get asked. Right, so I would definitely read that one because that one, you know, at least find that sections. Me, I would want to keep e-bikes off the sidewalks. We don't have enough sidewalks as it is. That's just too dangerous. I don't A, B, and C. I mean, it's just they could still go faster than a regular bike. Other than that, keeping them out of the conservatory, I think that you guys need to, that's a legit thing that Cameron just brought up, disability type exceptions. You know, are there any ordinances requiring, you know, stating disability exceptions? For sure. Should probably look at it.
The other thing, like I said, answering the questions, legal side, would recommend we don't do that. I think we should just, it's gonna be easier if we just. Whatever, we want to, let's let our lawyer figure it out if it's legal. So, we'll get to, you know, what the state thinks about just like. Yeah. We ideally want. That's also better.
he was willing to take a look at it. But he was willing to take a look at it, but he wanted the real ideas of what you actually want in that ordinance. So I think next step would be to actually write the language you want in that ordinance, bring it back here, get this committee to support it. Between, if you guys get that done fast enough, I can send it to him and say, this is what we're thinking. And that way I can come prepared with his legal opinion on it. But we need it in writing so we can, okay, what do we? So I think we've narrowed it down to registration, narrowed it down to sidewalks. And I mean, those are the two top, and conservatory, whether, so those three. But I would look at the ordinance too. I mean, the Oregon ordinance is pretty, I mean, it's detailed.
That's one of the things that we talked about too, as one as, and I couldn't find it when I was putting this together. You had that little graphic. I think it was more. So it's more of something for the newsletter, for the general public, not so much an ordinance. So besides an ordinance, that education piece for the general public.
Which we can, yeah, I mean, at the next, we do a newsletter every 3 months, but we can blast it on social media. We can do all kinds of stuff. I think just getting it on ordinance, again, the other thing is process. If you're creating a new ordinance, I don't know if you're adding to an ordinance if you need to do this, but if you're creating any type of new ordinance, it requires a public hearing. As long as you're adding to it, I don't think that will. Well, okay, so
Updates or additions, but.
right, my point in all of this is we don't want to drag our feet on it. Because otherwise, because you'll be dealing with this in June, by then it'll be too late. I mean, yes, we want the ordinance note regardless, but people are gonna start using these things soon, and so we need to regulate them, because we're gonna start getting complaints on them, which we have already in the past.
And keep it simple, because life is complicated. Just adjust that section of ordinance to do sidewalks. To me, that's number one. Two is the registration goal. And like everything we do, that's the building block, that's where we start. That's not enough for us creating headaches for the police department, but then that's what we're here for, is to figure this stuff out. But I think we need to do something now that sounds like.
Which you guys have a good committee draft packet. I mean, it's a good proposed e-bike. I mean, I read through it. It looks good. It's just, whether we can and can't. Because the last thing we want is to send something to the attorney who's like, guys, you can't do that, or why aren't you doing this? Because although he works for us, he's not cheap. Right.
The state can do versus the village, like, I don't feel qualified to.
Right. So I think the next meeting would be having you guys get together to finalize these little things, and then bring back just an updated, maybe that whole committee draft packet, and then
We make a motion.
we can, yeah, and
Committee draft pattern or
yeah, it says Village of Cross Plains, Wisconsin proposed. I think that's what he proposed, like looking at that and marrying your document. Bill made that one. Right. How could you tell? I wanted to.
Got enough time. Okay, let's say these one. Sidewalks. I think,
just so I'm clear, you're saying all bikes or just e-bikes?
No, e-bikes. More, whatever the best way to define that.
Pedal assisted.
Well, and like some of them, I've never, ridden one, but like some of them, I think you can turn it off, so.
You can pedal it and it'll work normal, and then you can flip it on, and then it's now pedal assisted. Like, if someone turns it off and is riding on the sidewalk just like a normal bike, like, so I don't know. It doesn't be too complicated, but motorized things. The second one was the registration. Do we want to do that or not? And if so, we should get some language together for that. The third one was the conservancy. We could skip that for now, or we could make the Parks Committee deal with it, but then that does prolong this process.
Within the conservancy, I just, part of it is, for me, is defining what the conservancy is, because.
Well, that's already defined, their zone, so we could go, there's a map, I don't have it on top of my, but like, we have all the conservancy areas, their zone is conservancy, so I think that would be the easy way to do it. But
Boardwalks.
parks are not conservancy, so if we want to include parks, that would be a separate thing.
Looking through on the bike, on the boardwalk as well,
The
dogs
ordinance,
and everything else. So,
the ordinance that we have now for the village does say for signage, so that would just be where we want signs.
So I think that would be an additional, hey, we just need to make the village put up signs, but maybe visiting those areas to confirm there's, like, again, you're proposing something and then all of a sudden, you're gonna have someone like Matt go, there are signs. And then, okay, it'll prolong this process. So maybe taking the trip out there to look to see if there's signage or not. Right now, it's a little deficient because Mike Axon is gone. You could have called him and he would have told you everything. I know that when he was here, he was against e-bikes he was one of the complainers. So
So it's against e-bikes on the board.
at the boardwalk, anything having to do with the parks,
I think that just makes a lot of sense.
like having one zoom through the park is dangerous too.
Yeah.
I do worry if we the public safety committee say they should park. Then one of them will be like, well, the Parks Committee.
Right. Well, and maybe then maybe it's a recommendation, and they've done this to us in the past where Parks recommended, so for example, Parks recommended lights on the boardwalk, and then there's like, that's fine, send it to public safety, and then they bring their portion of it. So they could do the same thing, recommend it to Parks. The other thing is to be safe. I mean, Sarah's the Parks person. You could, bring her in on this or invite her to the next meeting to weigh in. Right. So, I mean, there's ways to do that, but again, it's an invite even to a meeting to talk to the group, see what, and but I think preparing this for the next meeting would be ideal to get us moving.
I mean, it used to be
A big social uprising, big demonstration.
There's no requirement of helmets, right?
no, but I just want to make sure that. Should be.
I really think that you can get as constricted as you want. You can make it where all e-bikes, you got to be 16 to drive them, and you have to be a licensed driver. It's no different than we did with ATVs. ATVs can be driven by 12-year-olds, but we don't allow that in town. So you can be more restrictive. You can't be less restrictive than state law. So you could make every e-bike's got to be driven by a 16-year-old in town because they're too fast. And 16-year-olds with licenses know the rules of the road. I mean, if I was writing the ordinance, that's what I would want. And even though bike A is pretty slower, it's still assisted. It's still faster than a regular bike. I mean, you guys have to look at it and propose. I'm going to support anything. I mean, if we're looking at it from the public safety, we could develop this ordinance and the very next day somebody could get hurt. So if it, anything else?
Something about the helmets, something that, Matt brought up was, and I thought was on your piece to come up was bike rodeos, you know. That's where that could be really pushed.
Right, yeah.
That would help.
yeah.
You know.
Middleton's having a bike rodeo in June, and my plan is to send somebody to it to learn about it. They do have a class.
There all the time.
It's where they teach you bike safety.
Oh.
So yeah, it's something I want to bring back. It's just there's a class to teach how to share that information. So that's coming up April 11th. I don't think I have anybody. The person that I was thinking to do it isn't available. So we'll have to see. We'll have to look. But I did talk to Middleton, and they're doing a bike rodeo in June. So even if we send someone up there to monitor and see what that looks like, get some ideas. It's not a whole lot to sharing bike safety stuff, but it would be nice to be trained on it. So I'm looking at it, but that's right. That's a good avenue.
This is your first thing to say.
What is that?
This is the executive summary. That's
When it says executive summary?
Very few people actually write executive summaries, unless they're actually presenting something to like their CEO. We don't all work that. It's not like executive summaries. So.
Executive summary is the key that it's AI.
So I use AI. Spits out something with executive summary at the top. So.
All right.
The ordinance.
Right. Adding the language in there that you want. Maybe look at Oregon's. Does Oregon's deal with helmets? You may.
Part of that one graphic.
The only other thing, my recommendation would be to involve Bill, just because I know he's going to be highly involved in this. Obviously, he prepared a whole document. It would be beneficial he wants to be part of that. He wanted to be part of this. He made all that AI document that you're talking about. That was him. I know that he really, I honestly don't.
I think. Because Bill wants to participate.
So you're going to exclude a board member? That doesn't seem quite ethical. You can't exclude him. If he wants to be part of it, then he should be part of it. He reached out. Otherwise, then you can call him and tell him he can't be on it. But I'm not going to do that. To me, that's not normal. That would be like having another committee and you want to be part of it and they tell you no. But if you're on the board, you should be able to be on every committee. Now he's not here because he's on vacation. You can show up to any meeting. Right. So yeah. I don't think it's right to exclude somebody who's shown interest in a group. So we'll have to agree to disagree. But then my point on that would be, then why would we ever ask Michael to take care of the signs? He's not on this committee. He hasn't even shown interest in it. So then we shouldn't do that either. I just don't feel right excluding board members that want to be involved. That's my point. They want to be involved, they should be involved.
We never talk about skateboards.
Yeah, I mean, they go fast.
And so you'll tell you this is like one of the units that are can't do anything. But the commission just ignore this whole house. But the state of the matter is that
Did you guys look at Wanakees at all? Did you? Okay.
It's just probably the traffic safety committee. Trying to address it, we also want to be, they're not these focused only once a quarter and. But they were just trying to have similar. The one that was similar rules, so it's not. Scooters allowed in this village without, like, they're trying to get like guidance out to us, but it's gonna be really slow because it's gonna be. So that'll probably be at least another, years worth. What the plan by the tracks.
I think starting with the bike one would be good. Can always add to it.
Right. Presentation of the commitment for that, please say.
So no motions or anything with regards to that.
We're just waiting on the model.
So the soonest you guys get that to me, I will get it to the attorney and then we'll get his opinion for the next meeting. All right, presentation. So, much like you've seen before, this was supposed to go to village board last month, but due to a very busy agenda, I was asked to push it back. So, and then we ended up not having a meeting. So, hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at it. Maybe I'll open it up for any questions and then I can hit some highlights. No questions? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have, yeah, we knocked off all the hot topics, I think, especially when Doug was around. I mean, if you remember, we had 20 agenda items at one point that we split up in threes and took us first 2 years to get through that. So, yeah, I think so. It's been very helpful to get to this point. I do have it on the agenda, just to follow up on that comment is update of recommended and approved items. I think that some of the thing that concerns me is there, and this has been brought up when Doug was around too, is that you guys are recommending a lot of things. It goes to the village board, the board approves it, and then how are we following up on it? So like the no parking locations. And so what I thought I'm getting ahead of myself, but just because you brought it up, I thought for the next meeting, I'll just bring a laundry list of everything that's been approved in the last whatever, and then take the time to go around and look at those things and make sure they're up, and then bring a report to this committee. And then, this is in my opinion, a chairman thing where you get a hold of whoever's supposed to erect signs or whatever to get them to do it. Because I think some of this landed on Jerry's watch, and now we've have a switch. So there may be things that didn't get done, and I honestly can't remember all the things that you guys have recommended and have been approved. So I'm going to take the next month to look for them all. So. All right, so employees, this is just a little overview of what each one of us is doing. And kind of our responsibilities. I also added Jonathan, he's our part-time officer, but he has a lot of instructor certifications. This next month during our in-service, he's going to be training us on something. So I added him because he's got a lot of instructor training. Our budget, it always is interesting how we go about handling everything. Here are some of the numbers. I'll just kind of go through that. If you guys have any questions specifically regarding any numbers, but here's a big one right here. This open record requests, we've gone from 13 to 113. So a lot more people asking for records, reports, even video. There's a big push in that arena. So filling those open records requests take time. We got to go through it. We got to redact stuff. Both Aaron and I just went to a training on redaction and making sure that we're up to date on what needs to be taken out, what can be shared. It's the easiest way to get sued, but it's even easier if you don't meet the open record requirements. Local ordinances, there's not much to report. Let's see. Thefts are way down. We had 13 last year, 4 this year. Theft from vehicles, we had 0 last year, which was nice. Let's see here. Citizens, most of those are medical med drops. We get a lot of people show up to drop off their drugs. Assists EMS 255 times compared to 212. So we try to respond to all of them. There are times where it doesn't work out. Check properties are way up. We are getting a lot more people signing up for their properties to be checked. I think we're also promoting it. Like if somebody's having some incidents or and they're leaving, I know I've said it and I know some of the guys have said it. So check a lot of properties. Our information cases are about the same, 550. So information cases are anything from just a citizen talking to us about something to us learning about something in the community that we share. Open doors are down. It could be a couple of things. We're up in our cases. So it could be that the officers are, not doing them as often. But I think it's because we're short, so we're not covering all night. And those officers that were on late into the night were the ones doing the majority of the open door checks. And so now a lot of our shifts end earlier, and so that's probably causing it. The other thing, it could just be that people are closing their doors more because now we have a pretty extensive business listing, and it's pretty up to date with either phone number or email, letting people know when their doors are unlocked. Let's see, anything of substance here. Special events. So this one continues to grow. Last year we had 92. Last year we had 92. The year before we had 92. This number is huge as to why community policing is so important. So in 2019 they had 4 before I took over. So that it's become a focal point for us, and staff goes to a lot of special events, and we use it for all special events. Anything we do outside of regular police work. This has nothing to do with enforcement. Suspicious vehicles about the same. This number is wrong. So the year before we did snow parking, it just was in a different category. But we wrote about 57 tickets for snow parking. I think there was 20 just within the last day for that. Quite a few disabled vehicles this year. I don't know why. Traffic arrests are about the same. Traffic arrests, anything when we issue a citation, it's considered an arrest anytime we issue a citation. So that's how many tickets they wrote, and 298 is Officer Fingerson really did a bang up job on traffic enforcement. It's still the #1 complaint I receive anywhere I go. It's people are flying through here. What are you guys doing about it? I share these numbers, and out of this 306 people, nobody's come to me to complain. They go to court and they might get it dropped or lowered or whatever, but they don't come to me and say they got a ticket and they're upset about it. Every now and again, I'll hear it through rumor mill, but it's not an actual complaint. Traffic complaints are about the same, 73. Traffic stops are about the same. Well, it's probably 100 more. 804. 884 traffic stops were made. I have them do traffic monitoring because I give them special assignments. That's what this is. So like, for instance, right now we're working stop signs and stoplights. So they'll sit at those different stoplights or stop signs. And then I basically just say, take out a traffic monitoring if you're monitoring and you didn't make a stop, so we can document that we're actually doing, that we're monitoring. These are part one crimes, which are the big crimes, the 7 main crimes that is collected by FBI. So if you look, we've obviously had no homicides. We've had 1 less sexual assault than we did in 24. 1 robbery less. We had 4 aggravated assaults. Thefts 4, like we had on the, so technically, if you're looking at numbers, our part 1 crimes have decreased by 62%. Yeah, it's just data. We did have 100% clearance rate on all those 7 crimes. Those type of crimes are, which compared to the state, Wisconsin has 48 and US has 43%. Property crimes, again, we're 78% clearance in comparison to the state and US. Property crimes, clearance rate, so that's solved. So we have about 78% solved rate based on our numbers. These are just examples of cases we've had. I've obviously deleted any names and stuff from that, just for sake of privacy and confidentiality. Projects that we're working on constantly, although these are on here, we're always working on them. Operation plan is updated once a year. Field training manual is updated anytime we train somebody. We're working on the website just to make it better. We've moved on to the village website, so it's part of the entire village. Our Facebook page is highly utilized. We got a lot of followers and a lot of likes on that. The officer wellness program, that one had taken a bunch of steps forward, but with Officer Nikki moving on to that, took a bunch of steps backwards. So I'm working on that. We're sending an officer to be trained on it. This is a very important piece of our puzzle here. Suicide rate for officers is extremely high, one of the highest in all professions. So we're doing our best to build that program up. Helping Hands program basically is a program that I've been working on with the churches. We already have something in place, but I want to narrow it down. So basically, it's if somebody transient comes to our community, we can help them out by getting them to the next location, finding them a hotel, getting them gas, whatever. It's more meant to move people on because we don't have services here. So we've had a couple of people dropped off in our community, just hitchhikers, and then they don't know where to go. We've had a highly intoxicated individual that came from a totally different county, just left off at Quick Trip. So we found him sleeping literally in the parking lot, on the ground. So we helped him get moving on. So we do have some resources, but we want to make that just a little stronger. There's more and more need. That's not to be confused with our other programs like Thanksgiving Give Back or our Christmas. The Christmas one we've kind of abandoned because the Thanksgiving one is just a little better, although we struggle getting people to sign up for that Thanksgiving initiative. So we'll continue to work on it because there are people that need it. We had no capital improvement projects in 2026. Capital improvement is squad cars or big purchases. We have a 2021 squad car, and I don't want to get to the point where we had a few years ago where the 16 and 17 both needed to be replaced. So we'll be looking at that because it'll be 6 years old come next year. Actually 7 if you look at real production time. National Night Out parades, all those things that we normally do. We do career day at presentations at Glacier Creek. Any opportunity to talk to the kids, we do. Collected drugs, we do the drug take back. That works out very well. Matt is in charge of the program. It's coming up again April something. It's on, and it's well attended. We had 82% of the time we had 24/7 coverage. That was before Nikki's departure, so that's gonna dip. Overtime, staff 308 hours. I'm really cautious of that, not only because of the cost, but because they work 6-3 rotation. So then to come in to work overtime takes away from their days off where they need to redo. I worked 404 extra hours to help supplement the coverage, which that I've said many times, it's not sustainable. It's very stressful to work that many hours. National average is 2.5 officers. That's been pretty steady for the last decade. So technically we would be at, yeah, and we're at 6. So yeah, we're always compared to Marshall. Marshall has 9, and they're less residents than we are. So we need to get up there. That's one of the things that I'm going to be pushing the board on, because we need staff. And you'll see, well, I didn't show you, but so when I started here was 1,600 cases for service. Last year we had 4,800. That's too many like that. So on average, and here I did kind of put down, so it's 186.29% increase in cases from 2019 to now. And that's an average of 4.6 calls per day was what they were handling before. We were handling 13.2 calls per day. Some days staff can't even get a lunch break. It's going call to call to call to call. It's affecting also our community relations in the sense of not being able to just stop, pull over, talk to people, because we're literally going from one call to the other, and we can barely, some days we can just wave. So that's why the community special events are so important, because then it slows everything down. They're assigned to that event. I go to those events, then we're out there in the community. Me handling these 404 calls, that's me being on duty, like handling calls because somebody's not on. Like today, we did have a part-timer on, but yesterday there's no one on. I was the only one on during that snowstorm. This whole building was shut down. And then Matt came in to relieve me. So it was just us two. And then tomorrow it's the same thing, right? It's just us two. So I handle all the calls on the day. He handles all the calls in the evening. So it's so hard when you're a supervisor to try to do that. Training has still become it's a priority, and there's 100 hours of training that I offer staff on average. We're only required to provide 24 hours. As staff gets older, like myself and Roger, who are a little older, we've been doing this a long time, it's harder to find training. We usually go to conferences or things like that. It's not, training, whereas like this whole week, Taylor's gone to training because they're young. There's a lot of learning yet to do. Not that we don't too, but we've been through a lot of those trainings. We had thousands of hours. Matt's taken a lot of, I think the month of May, he was gone most of the time to training. So there's opportunities for him to develop. Future problems or future initiatives, sorry. Department policies, we've got several already. Department policies are updated quite often. If any laws changes, the policy changes. We're working on another tabletop exercise. We did one last year where it was just a tabletop with a tornado coming through town. It involved village staff, it involved fire, EMS, police, involved all of us, and we worked through a tornado coming through town and what we would do. This time we're doing an active shooter, and it's just going to be first responders. Working on that. Bike rodeo I have on there. Y-leg, I haven't lost sight of that, but I think we need to get to the new building to look at department accreditation. That's a pretty big process. We've been invited to participate in Cops at Culver's Day. It's kind of a statewide thing. So the organizers contacted us and asked us to be part of that. So I have a meeting to see what that's like. These are our accomplishments, which Cameron asked me to put on last year, so I've continued them. And obviously we accomplished a lot more than this, but these are our the big ones. You know, these, like this less lethal program, that's huge, emergency operation plans, field training. What that, you know, there was no real website, taser programs, those are huge. And then just a couple of feel good pictures. Yes, the last 2 years, they haven't asked me for that. I need it, actually, I don't know why. They forgot. I'll make sure, I'll ask. Because we used to offer a scholarship. I don't know what we do a lot of community recognitions, which you guys are part of that, so. That's my report. Just meant for presentation.
Thank you.
I hope it's helpful. I mean, when I got here, I did it that first year and people liked it, so I was like, okay, we'll keep it going. So it's available on the website. I don't put the 25 on it until you guys have seen it and the board has seen it, just in case they want me to add something or take away something or whatever. But mhm. Yeah, right, right. Yeah. I,
You know, we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it was up here forever. Village board did at some point, I think within the last 3 years, voted and said that the police would be the first agency to add, if we added positions. In fairness, you know, you're working through a certain budget, so, you know, I've looked at the numbers. I don't necessarily see where you'd have to almost take away from someone to add to something, right? Unless you went to referendum. And that's what a lot, I mean, Middleton's gone to referendum for staffing. Fitchburg just did it. I mean, they passed a referendum for building and staffing. So that's the only way I see it. I cannot stress enough that we need more staff. Like I've been putting in a lot of time. You're not going to hire someone. I mean, I'm going to retire at some point. You're not going to hire someone at the rate you're paying them to work all those extra hours. If I do the math, I'm probably getting paid less than that. If you do the math of hour per hour, right? You're not going to get people to sustain that. When I got here, I saw all the deficiencies, and I'm like, well, this is my opportunity to serve. You guys are all instrumental, and like when I was given that list of tons of things that we needed to fix, I'm like, well, you know, it gives me a purpose, and the department really needed work. Good thing is we had strong staff, right? We had people that had been here for decades, and so that was really helpful for them to stick around, and especially Scott. I can't praise him enough because he could have retired 10 years earlier. But he committed to stay with me and help. So we are at a point where we need officers. We need more staff. There's this, it's not healthy to work that many overtime hours, and not even the overtime hours, but just to be worked that much during your shift. Because they're also young and new. Like they can't navigate things that quickly. So things take forever sometimes. And you know, at what expense? And then my concern is they've worked 10 cases, they're on the 11th case, and that's the one that they have to, you know, deploy a weapon. You know, I mean, the investigation is going to say, okay, what did you do all day today? Well, the stressors of the entire day. And it's not like we don't have that. Hot calls. Roger and I just disarmed a person threatening suicide with a knife. And right during the day, I mean, he was walking on our streets. So it's happening, and we need more help. We need more staff. lot of,
We, we talked, it's been one of my pushes for the last few years, because the village is gonna get smaller, it's gonna grow. Demands are gonna grow. And every time you get up to staff, somebody quits, and then
right,
start to solve the minimum staff levels that go. Simply, so you can absorb it. You
Right.
can't go, that happens. People get sick or bad things happen. But it would seem to be responsible stewards to lay out a plan, not just talk about, okay, let's try this next year. Set a goal for the next 3 or 4 years about where we want to be. And then if it's painful, you gotta go to a referendum. Money, then we've done it, the plan's laid out. And it's set so you can just move forward and develop it.
my biggest concern about all of it is I don't, as the way it sits right now, I would hate to start taking from other departments to fill that gap, or maybe some decisions do need to be made that route, but I hate to get blamed for that. That would, it,
Yeah.
right. Right.
The obvious scalability issues that seem to be community.
Well, there's nothing saying that we can't put it on an agenda and make a memo, and it's recommended that that a new police, an additional position be hired based on just call volume and share that, that, I mean,
There used to be an option, when I did this job, I had full-time staff, 24 hours. But I also had 15 part-time.
right,
people. We're scheduling out using professional part-time people, they're at work and turn it into a training, we hire people out of the academy. They work part-time, but they would grow in their career, and then it's full-time.
Right.
Fill that work, I know that doesn't exist, and so we have to make decisions. Well, there's a minimum staff for the police department across Plains.
I mean, once they get to 5,000, they have to provide 24-hour coverage, so there's,
We have to.
I think it's 5,000, 5,500. What? Right. Right.
That's what I think.
I mean, we're,
But that's not putting on the question that it's been around for years. Should we be outsourcing our police department, which everybody talks about that, but what are the trade-off conversations? And people won't understand unless we raise that concern.
I mean, we should be at 24-hour coverage here. There's no doubt. I mean, you're talking of, I mean, so when you reach 5,000, I mean, you get that new Marchstone development, you're gonna, I mean, technically you'll be there. So it's already been approved. So I mean, we're at that level. We've had at least one occasion that I can think of where a family involved, being perpetrated by a domestic violent person came here looking for assistance, trying to get away from their assailant. We weren't on. Thank goodness that that's why we recognized Ted. If you remember, we recognized Ted. He happened to be here, doing water stuff, and he let them all in and then called, for assistance. So thank God. But I mean, we're building some of that stuff in the new department. We'll be able to get into the vestibule, hit a button, lock it down, some safety features. But in reality, people here actually think we're on all the time, like the majority do. Anybody moving here definitely does, because it's big enough for that.
It's basic service, and it's the job of every government to protect citizens.
Right. Well, people move to communities for school districts and public safety.
We have, I mean, the school district alone.
Right. Right. I definitely am going to reach out for support. I don't know, I'll wait for this committee's direction to put it on the agenda or whatever, but during budget time, I mean, when I present this report, I will again repeat that they really need to add a police officer.
Will you start your budget process?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not true.
Right.
I mean, they've heard me every time I speak. I talk about adding staff. They need to really think about that. I mean, there's definitely a thought of it. It's not like it's being ignored. I think even the new police department is being built for growth. I mean, there's an office for a lieutenant in that building. There's extra lockers. So there's thought of growth. It's just, okay, where's this money going to come from? And I'm not sure I'm okay with waiting any longer. I mean, even if we can get one extra relief would be extremely helpful. It would. I mean, you don't even have to hear it out of me. I'm sure my staff would love to have. Right now we're short, so they feel it. So having an extra body where you can do some overlap, hey, I'm working on this. Can you handle
There can
patrol?
always be a moving target.
Right. Right.
There's gotta be a minimum level.
Well, and as you guys remember, I presented to you guys the proposal to have a different schedule. We can't even do that. We haven't even been able to do it because we don't have enough. We don't have the full-time staff to do it. And I see it, the disappointment in their faces. Like that's just right. Right. But you think about it, if we hire somebody that needs the academy, they won't be on the road till next March.
See, that just brings us back to this.
Right.
It's never gonna be where we.
Well, and so then you're at, right. Well, and then you're here next year and then, somebody else will retire or move on, so it's a never ending battle. So I think you're right, having some additional staff, we need it anyway. But just for that overlap, the redundancy of coverage and.
I believe you'll get to that level and still be replacing people because people have to go.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
But it just releases some of the pressure, the rest of the staff. How long before, I've got Taylor gone for a whole week. How long before he gets recruited? Like, hey, come to our department. We got an opening, but we have plenty of staff and we pay better. That's how they get recruited from underneath us. So it's just, I can't say it enough. So I'll wait for Cameron's direction on putting it on the agenda and we'll do that.
Right. Speaking of future question on the next look at potential ordinance for and then we have these other topics here. I don't think they're in prior order, but fireworks, yellow ones at now boxes, inspection authority and such parts. Update, recommend there you go. So,
I guess maybe we pull in one of those for the next meeting, just because I don't want our meetings to end up like board meetings.
I thought
About the stuff.
I don't know where that ended up.
Which I did. And he said he received a complaint from someone.
By the library, because their mail would not get delivered when people parking at the library would park in front of the mailbox. So I asked him if he thought yellow lines, because the way it came up at the board meeting, should be at every mailbox in the whole village, or if he's thinking like high traffic areas, and he was like, I was just thinking high traffic areas by the library. So, I think this body should discuss if we would recommend yellow lines at mailboxes so people know not to park in front of them.
And we do get complaints of people parking by someone's mailbox. I mean,
No, these are
People going to the library. who then park in front of this residence mailbox. So, so, you know, I think we get to kind of choose, you know, how broad we go. Are we talking about the whole village? Are we talking about just by the library? Are we talking about, you know, I don't know, the library and the pool, or is there some other? Yeah, and then we will do what we do then is make recommendations, I think, to the village board on what we kind of think would be needed there. If you think.
You guys like to deal with, I mean,
Doesn't have to take
the inspection authority of the massage parlors, I mean, we can push that one back. The massage parlor is all but gone. I mean, if anybody drives through there, it's a vacant building now. That's just, yeah, right. And so I already have a sample ordinance. Who is gonna be the? Yeah, it's just preemptive to build a ordinance. I can send it to you. Yeah.
Wanted to match
Well, it can wait.
the farmers.
That one can wait. That one can wait.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just say that one. I'll send you what I have.
Yeah.
The fire one is already teed up, but it's still open.
But if you want to, we should get it in there in time so we can then, yeah. Okay, perfect. Do you want to send that to me and then I'll send it to the attorney? Well, it's just language, right? Okay, all right. Okay.
And then I guess we can. Says,
Around public buildings.
yeah, let's just make that a discussion topic for the next meeting.
And maybe you start thinking about that, like for the next meeting. I just know that it's super expensive. The paint is very expensive.
People to put the paint on.
Right, it's expensive. I mean, it's almost,
Isolated toward the problem.
yeah, I mean, maybe, and have we talked to Elizabeth about the concern? And what is she, maybe she can just curb it.
I think that
Um,
yeah, I mean, it's paint from home. Feedback and stuff, and so.
Yeah.
Library or pool, Saturday deliveries.
All right, well, so on April. Okay. So I would love the massage parlor for May, update and recommended approved items. I can do that. Let's just do that in May, so that way it doesn't get so convoluted. I'll start that, everything you guys have recommended since I've been here, I'm gonna go back, all the way back, just so we can have a fresh start and see what has been recommended, what has been approved, and has it been done? So those will be the three things. And so I'll come up with a list of everything recommended, everything approved. Well, I won't recommend it and approved. I'm not, because you have recommended things that haven't been approved or been changed. But specifically, I'm looking at signage, paint, those kind of things that you guys have asked to be done. And then from that point on, once we clean this up, I think anytime we get an approval, we have to have some kind of checks and balances to make sure it gets done, because I feel like it falls to the wayside. Like we've approved things in the winter that the sign can't go up. Like for instance, the engine braking sign. I don't know if that's been moved. It was approved months ago. But again, citizens are asking for these things to be approved. They're gonna be upset if they don't get done. So that's kind of my thoughts, unless anybody has. And I just kind of a sense of presentation, and then maybe then the board decides who's gonna approach whoever, public facilities or whoever is responsible for that. Or maybe it's a conversation with Carly, say, right? Because I mean, she's the administrator. So,
Maybe that suggests things and wondering.
yeah, right. And I think it's fair to, I mean, you guys are doing a lot of work, and I think it's fair. All right.
Kevin stuff. I don't know. If we want anything for August.
Okay. So, officer. Okay, so we have our topic. These May ones I will add for as future items on the agenda.
Maybe even the massage parlor out to June if that's not a high priority, if we think.
I mean, the ordinance is pretty, it's like that long. That's this is, let me search.
What in June is only up.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
21st. Is it working out for me to send you guys, messages and that kind of thing? Remember, if I send a message in a group, don't respond. If you do respond individually. Just so we don't get into trouble for open meetings. And it's super important to get a response so we know we have a quorum. So today everybody was here, so that's awesome.
April 21st. Motion to adjourn. Second. Motion second discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed the same. Moved.